Pope, Holberg, Brooks, some lunatic from Napoli. Let's find out who Everton should sign next season. Hello Blues, welcome back to GrandOldTeam. I'm Allan Partington, it's great to see you. Just before we get started with the video today, I just want to remind you, if you haven't yet subscribed to GrandOldTeam and you like the stuff that we do, make sure you hit that subscribe button and do me a quick favour. If you do like the stuff that we do, make sure you share these videos with another Evertonian that you know. It helps us to grow. I really appreciate it, and as I've said before, if I see you at the match and you tell me that you've done that, I'll buy you a beer. And I also just want to say a very, very quick thank you to Phil Johnson, Suckdev, and Jeff Thompson, who are all frequent contributors to GrandOldTeam. Leave us comments in the comment section underneath, and I just want to say how much I appreciate that, lads. So keep on getting involved, keep on contributing to the videos, and your comments are always very insightful. I enjoy reading them. Apart from Suckdev, who is a big Kevin Morelos fan, and I find that a little bit weird, but apart from that, he's a good guy. So it's been announced that this season's transfer window will run from the 27th of July until the 5th of October. So that means that Everton will be able to sign players again within that time frame. I don't know about you, but when I'm talking about transfers, I keep on saying who will sign in the summer, and then I realise that it's the summer now. But obviously, because of this, this weird situation that we've all been in this year, things have moved around, project restart, all that nonsense. And that obviously meant that the transfer window had to change as well. So I went out to the Everton sphere this week with a question of if Everton could sign 4 players this summer, 1 goalkeeper, 1 defender, 1 midfielder, and 1 striker, who would they be? Who? Some of you may have seen the tweets that GrandOldTeam put out. They asked this question on my behalf on Twitter, and I actually went onto the Everton subreddit to ask the lads on there what their thoughts were on this. And if you haven't ever been onto Reddit before and you haven't subscribed to the Everton subreddit, it's a really good place. Lots of Evertonians on there from across the world all talking about Everton. It's a little bit more civil than Twitter as well, so I quite like it. Obviously, on hearing the question, a couple of people were like, why is it just 4 players? We need more than that. We need like 4 defenders alone. I hear you. I'm not denying that. But as you can imagine, from my perspective of creating a video, there has to be some structure. So that's what I went with. I decided to go for 1 goalkeeper, 1 defender, 1 midfielder, and 1 striker. So on my travels, I've had names like Henderson, not Jordan, the goalkeeper, Thiago Silva, Allan, the fella from Napoli, Depay. I've had a magnitude of suggestions given to me, and what I've tried to do is try to whittle them down and go through some of the main ones with you, so you're clued up when people ask you, who should Everton sign in the summer? You can reference this video in your mind and pull out a name that isn't too crazy, and they'll think you know a lot about football. Try not to laugh too much at my pronunciation. It's terrible. I'm a typical Brit, typical Englishman. I can't say anyone's name correctly. If you have an exotic sounding name, I will struggle with it. People laugh at the way I say Belgium. You're probably laughing now. Some of you who used to listen to the GrandOldTeam podcast will remember that once I was mocked roundly for my pronunciation of the word Belgium. Belgium. For some reason, people find it fucking hilarious how I say Belgium. I think it's a local thing to where I live. It's kind of ironic when Scousers give me a little bit of stick for the way that I say things. But what I'm trying to say is just see past the pronunciation, please, okay? Because I'm terrible at it. That's why I'll never be employed in a serious position within football media world, because I can't say anyone's name properly. Unless it's something English like Brooks, the lad from Bournemouth. I'm okay with that one. I think before we talk about the or potential replacements for Jordan Pickford at Everton, we probably should talk about the situation with Jordan Pickford at Everton. But it begs the question, do we need to chop Pickford in now? Many of you will be watching this and probably saying, yes, Ad, it's time. We've given up on Pickford. It's time. He continues to make mistakes. He's erratic. His concentration is terrible. Just let him go now. He's never going to be the elite keeper that we thought and wanted him to be. And all of that I accept. However, I do disagree. I think that there is still potential for Jordan Pickford to become a world-class keeper. I personally think the comparisons with Joe Hart are slightly lazy, even though I've used them before in the past. I've done a full video on Jordan Pickford. I will link to it or somewhere on this video or in the comments section underneath, and you can watch that. But ultimately, he can be a very good shot stopper. He's incredibly brave. I still think he has a lot of the attributes needed to be a good goalkeeper. I don't accept the height argument as well. Neville Southall wasn't a particularly tall goalkeeper and was the best the world has ever seen. So anyway, I'm willing to accept and give Jordan Pickford another season at least to turn his form around. But I understand why some of you are looking for alternatives to Jordan now. And as I said, a suggestion that I had off Reddit from Portland Eric was a lad called Simon. His name is Unai Simon. I'm going to say Simon for the rest of this video, just because if I keep on dropping into a Spanish accent and saying Simon every time I'm talking about him, it's going to sound silly. I'm going to look like a tit, so I'm just going to call him Simon. But anyway, this kid is 23. He's at Bilbao and he looks like the real deal. He's highly rated. He apparently wants to leave Bilbao now. He's got his sights set on a move to a bigger club. But at 23, he's playing weekly. I think he's kept 12 clean sheets in like 27 appearances for Bilbao this season. And he looks like a good proposition. I think my argument or my case against signing someone like him would be the fact that Everton have, and this isn't like a revelation, all of you watching this will know this because you watch Everton. Everton have huge issues or massive issues, mainly the centre of the park, and in defence, where I think they would need to allocate most of their resources. So while Simon would be a terrific signing, I think, and he'd push Jordan Pickford a lot, or potentially would, ship him out. And if you look at that, that's kind of what big clubs do, I suppose. Pep did it at City with Joe Hart when he brought in Edison or whoever it was before Edison, turfed Joe Hart out, said you're not good enough, booted him out. And some of you will maybe think that Carlo Ancelotti needs to do that with Jordan Pickford. But Everton have constraints. I'm thinking about the financial fair play regulations, and we just need to allocate that resource somewhere else. So for me, goalkeeper isn't a priority at the moment. Now I think things get interesting because we arrive at defenders, and some of the suggestions I had were the likes of Silva, Zuma, Gabriel at Lille as well. So there was a couple of people that were recommended here. I'm going to stick with those three that we had because I think Thiago Silva's an interesting one. Obviously, he's a lad who has a massive pedigree within the game, but he's 35 now. And it makes me wonder whether or not that would be what we would call a typical Everton signing. A player on his way down, commands big money, no resale value, probably going to get him on his last legs. Has he really got an overt amount to contribute at the moment? Probably a bit. Well, he's probably getting slower. Not for me. And bleary-eyed Ben recommended Kurt Zouma as well on Reddit. So Zouma's an interesting one because he was at the club. We all know a lot about Zouma. I think that he is a competent centre-half. He's already formed a partnership with Yerry Mina. I remember him playing alongside Yerry Mina quite a bit. Mason Holgate as well. His passing's good. He is a good centre-half, but I do have a couple of reservations about Kurt Zouma. I watched him the other week, actually, against Chelsea against Sheffield United. I watched that with my sister, who's a Chelsea fan. And Zouma played a part in, I think if I remember correctly, played a part in both of their goals. One of them he completely switched off. I think he got a bit of stick for it. I do wonder about his concentration, and I'm not sure whether or not I'd be completely enthused if we were to capture the signature of Kurt Zouma. There's just something about him. I'm just not sold on him. Gabriel, the lad from Lille, the Brazilian, Everton have been linked with him already. He got a lot of shouts. I tallied them up. Like I wrote a tally of all the players, and then I went through who was getting the most shouts, and he got an exceptional amount. And I think that's because we have been linked with him in the press. He is very elegant for a centre half. Looks really, really looks years ahead of where he should be. Reminds me a little bit of John Stones in a weird way. So yeah, he's a potential. I think there's a possibility of this one happening if Everton have got the cash. He would be a pretty decent suggestion for me, and would definitely improve us in that area of the park. I feel like we need a really, really good partner for Mason Holgate. I'd love Yerry Mina to be that man. I'd like Mickey Keane to prove everybody wrong and become that man. But I'm not sure if either of them will. So this guy could be the fella. So next we'll move on to the midfield, and there's a fella there that keeps on being suggested, and that's Allan, or Allan as I will call him for the sake of this video. plays centre midfield for Napoli. Really tenacious, snappy player that can win the ball back, that can carry the ball. And actually on that website, transfermarket.com, I think it is, where they give you a breakdown of all the players, they list Allan as the 159th best player in the world. Put that on your gravestone. Of course, at 28, I have reservations about signing a player at 28. We signed Gylfi Sigurdsson around the same age. Not a lot of resale value there. I'm contradicting myself slightly with what I've said previously in this video. But I think that is the area of the pitch where we need the most help. And if you said to me, can you imagine a footballer that we need at the moment? It's probably this guy. Like, you could have started watching football last Wednesday and you will realise what it is that Everton need, or one of the major things that Everton need. And it is a combative centre midfielder that can win the ball back, that can turn the ball over successfully. Allan is our man. Ancelotti knows him. He wants him. I can see this happening. And I can't believe I'm having to bring this next one up, but a couple of people have suggested Mohamed Besic, and no. Look, you're entitled to your opinion. I sometimes have silly ones. A lot of the time I have silly ones. But the point is this: if Mohamed Besic wasn't good enough for Ronald Koeman's Everton side, what makes you think that he's good enough for Carlo Ancelotti's? We need to get over this. The lads, I like him. Nothing against Besic. He works hard, puts himself about, but no way. He wasn't good enough then. He's been in the Championship for 3 seasons or whatever it's been. Just no for me. No to Mohamed Besic. Anyway, his contract's probably up now or soon, so just let the lad go. Off you go, Mohamed. Thanks for all the great memories. And the next one that many of you will know is Holberg at Southampton, also in the Premier League. I don't know. I feel a bit like not as enthused, I don't think, by us signing players from the Premier League because that just doesn't or hasn't seemed to work out particularly well for us, Richarlison aside, but recently. But Holberg's an interesting one. Again, had a terrific season for Southampton, very highly rated. David Hughes, who is a journalist I like, who writes about Everton, he's done a piece in the Echo, a breakdown, a tactical analysis of Holberg. His stats look really, really good. I think him and Didi, a couple of others like that, are in like the top 10% of midfielders this season for winning the ball back, if I remember correctly. And when you compare those stats with like Andre Gomez and Tom Davies for us, it's really quite concerning. So yeah, he's been linked with Everton. I think Tottenham are interested. He wants to sign again for a big club. We'd be a step up for him. There's no doubt about that. I mean, Everton are a superior football club, superior sized football club to Southampton. That's just the way it is. So yeah, it'd be appealing for him. A manager like Carlo Ancelotti. This one's a goer. I'd be happy enough with it. And the next one that kept on popping up was Todd Cantwell from Norwich, who admittedly looks like a little girl. But forget that for a second, because he was really, really good against Everton when they played us this season. I like him a lot. He is he's got a lot about him. I think he's at a good age, likes a Man United and whatever sniffing around him. He has a lot to offer. I think he can play across the middle, but he predominantly plays out on the left. He wouldn't be my first choice to sign, but I definitely think he's a very good shout, so he is a consideration. And this one was suggested by BEBDS on Reddit. He suggested Weston McKennie. Now, Weston McKennie strikes me as a really promising footballer. If you haven't seen him, he's at Schalke at the moment, and he looks mustard. He really gets stuck in and puts himself about. He's not afraid to do that. A bit like Allan or Allan in that regard. He's proper combative and would be, I think, a decent option for Everton if we could sign him. The Reds have been linked with him. Could Everton get him? Unsure. Should we try? Probably. Now, in terms of forwards, what do we do? Because we've got Richarlison. So unless Richarlison leaves, God forbid.
Hi, my friend.
Please, if you're watching this, Richarlison, never leave us. As I've said on other videos, I think Richarlison now is on the brink of being world class. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is coming in leaps and bounds. I would be inclined to keep him around, obviously, and would want to play him as much as possible, because I kind of think he's only going to get better. I do wonder about Moise Kean, if he will blossom into, becoming a decent Everton player. At the moment, it doesn't look like it, but again, it's his first season. I think sometimes it's like he just chases lost causes, gives away a lot of fouls. His composure's terrible, his concentration's even worse, and he does need to improve. We hope that Carlo Ancelotti would be the guy to do that. At the moment, it doesn't look like he's been able to have much of an impact on Moise Kean, but there's still time for Moise Kean to turn it around at Everton. Obviously, playing for Juve was a different proposition. He got like 9 or 10 chances a game. At Everton, though, you'd be lucky if he gets one. Me and a friend were talking about this the other day, who's an Evertonian, and it's a completely different proposition, and he's struggling. But we got an array of suggestions for this one, and it was quite varied. There was no like one outstanding candidate, like some McNeil, Depay, and Brooks. And Brooks is the one that caught my mind, I think, because I rate him. He's again a young lad at Bournemouth. I think he would be a decent signing. We could probably pick him up relatively cheap, and he's got a bit about him. I think some of the other bigger clubs are looking at him as well. So, it could be an opportunity, another young forward that we can bring into the club, bet him in, gives us more options. That's a potential one. And there's also Morelos at Rangers, who, by all accounts, doesn't seem like he may have the best attitude, which is obviously a bit of a concern. But I think he would be a decent centre forward. But again, I'm just not sure if he'd come to Everton. He knows that he's got a lot of competition there. He's being linked with a couple of the Italian sides, I think. So, again, I rate him. He would make an impact, but would he improve us? Not sure. So I think you probably need somebody who's willing to come in and play second fiddle a little bit, and I'm not sure if he would be that guy. Plus, as I said, there's a lot of question marks about his attitude, and we don't need any more players like that. So there's some suggestions from me and Reddit. Now it's time to read out some of the best tweets that we had. Jonathan Allan says, an employment lawyer to terminate the contracts of the players already there. T-Drinker68 says, we should bring back all of the players we've let go or loaned out over the past 4 to 5 years, because apparently Jagielka, Balassi, Morales, Dowell, Rooney, Guy, Besic, and Ross fucking braindead Barkley would all walk back into our team. That's just that just highlights how angry people get on Twitter. I mean, I love it. And Stu Walsh says, I think the question should be, who would want to sign? Yeah, that's a good point, Stu. So anyway, thank you for all your comments, and thank you for contributing to the video today. I'm Adam Partington. You can find me at @PartAdam on Twitter and @PartAdam on Instagram. So yeah, once again, nice one for watching. Up the toffees.